everybody. Welcome back to the That's Awesome podcast, a podcast where we take a look at why awesome at Iowa State University is truly awesome. Today, we have another special guest, Jamie Beyer, joining us. Jamie is an associate teaching professor in our event management program within the AESHM Department. And we're going to be talking a little bit about her experience with awesome, as well as what awesome specifically in our event management program has to offer. So Jamie, thank you for coming onto the show and speaking with us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So first and foremost, for those watching who may not be familiar with event management or who you are, who are you? Who are you in Awesome?
Well, I currently serve as an associate teaching professor, as you mentioned, and I have the pleasure of teaching a variety of classes. And I should step back and say I first joined our department over 8 years ago. And in that role, I was an academic advisor and also taught some courses. And at the time, I started teaching the intro course, and then shortly after that, the wedding planning course. And then over time, I have phased out of advising, and I am strictly in a 100% teaching role at this point. So I have the pleasure of teaching students about wedding planning, about event production. I also get to teach the advanced production course where we get to implement the conference, which I hope to talk more about.
Absolutely.
I'm also teaching a brand new course this spring called Sports Event Management. And then in this spring of 2021, I will also be teaching our intro course. And I have to tell you, I'm really excited about that because I have the opportunity to teach some of our newer students, where, previously I've been teaching students who have been in the program for a number of years, and I'm getting to know them later on in their career, which is really fun. And I love that. But now I'm really excited to get to meet students earlier in their, in their process of being in our program. So I'm really excited about that. There have been a number of other courses I've had the pleasure of teaching off and on as well. The orientation course. I have served as our internship coordinator, which I absolutely loved because that is just a really, I think a really key part of our students' educational experience is having that real tangible application internship experience. And I loved working with the internship providers and employers as well, and having that connection to industry. I did co-create alongside Liz Harris, who used to be an advisor in our department. We created the Sophomore Mentor Program. So another opportunity for students to get that, that firsthand perspective working with someone in the industry. So it's a really wonderful, I have always said, my experience working in the event management field and then my experience working with college students has brought me to the role that I'm in now. And I have said to just about everybody I talk to, I truly have the best job on earth because I get to not only still be involved with event planning and events, but I get to work with college students. So, I think that that's just the best, the best situation I could possibly be in. But it's just a wonderful opportunity to support students in the classroom in my current role.
Absolutely. And, in Awesome, we're very glad that you're here as well. So, you've been with Awesome for quite some time now. You mentioned 8 years. And prior to that, you also received your Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies and then Master of Education in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies from Iowa State University, correct?
That's right. Iowa State is definitely a home for me.
Mm-hmm. And so some of your past experiences included, as you mentioned, Assistant Director of Activities at AIB College of Business in Des Moines, as well as a first-year advisor for Miami University in Ohio. And as you said, you also mentioned Assistant Director alongside Liz Harris for, or is the Assistant Director for the Honors Program, that's different, correct?
Yes, that's right. I did that before I came into Awesome. I got to work with first-year students in the honors program.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like you've been all around the place, but you've been solely focused on, uplifting that student-led experience at Iowa State. So Awesome is really glad to have you here, and we're excited to, delve a little bit into more about why event management is so great within Awesome. So maybe first and foremost as well, why did you choose to journey into event management given your unique background?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. No pun intended. But, when I was kind of back in your shoes, when I was a student at Iowa State University, I knew I wanted to be in event planning. And I actually had my heart set on sports and recreation. And that's where I kind of started my career, was working with athletics and in sports and athletics. And I really transitioned around a lot and tried a lot of different things. I had a job in conference planning. I worked with nonprofits. I worked for a CBB. And over time, I ended up, as you mentioned, as the activities director at AIB College of Business down in Des Moines. And at that point in that job, I was planning events for their student community. So I was planning blood drives, I was doing social programming, holiday gatherings and things like that. I also oversaw all of their sports recreation clubs and a lot of different things that they did within the Des Moines community. So I loved that. I loved that type of event planning because it merged a lot of my interests within the industry. But what happened was I had the opportunity to have a student staff working with me to help implement these events. And I loved the event planning. I loved what we were doing, as far as those initiatives were concerned. But what I discovered was that, I really loved the college students I was working with. I really loved that clientele, if you will. And I don't look at students as clients, but at the time I'm thinking, this is what makes my job so awesome. It's these college students. And so that's what led me to go back and get my master's in education so that I knew I could be working with students in some capacity. And, like I said, I've always loved events and everything that goes into the planning and the production, but it was those students that really, I think I got a lot of my energy and excitement from them. And I will say teaching has always been a part of me because both of my parents were teachers. I have aunts, cousins, my sisters-in-law. Education is everywhere in my family. So I suppose it was inevitable that I would end up in this role. But I love that. So, that's what led me into kind of the college student in the university environment. And then what I found was that in higher education, there's so much event planning that takes place. When I was working in the honors program, for example, I planned an annual event for 500 people, along with a lot of other mini events throughout the year. So, it's always been, like I just said a little bit ago, a wonderful opportunity to combine my two passions. And that is, everything I did with events previously, professionally, in conferences and sports and nonprofits and weddings and things, and then bringing that to students. I just truly have the best job on earth. I really do.
And do you think throughout your 8 years within Awesome, do you think because of your realization of event management, that's the reason why your passion for students in academia has grown so much?
Absolutely, because I get to help develop their knowledge, their experience with events, which is one that I share. So it's been such a really exciting, wonderful, rewarding, I will say, opportunity to help students really learn about the different areas of the industry, see where their career can take them, help them discover what areas that they want to go into. Because I experienced that myself. I think I mentioned a moment ago that I got into the industry or got into this thinking I wanted to do sports and athletics. And so I did do that for a while, but it really was after maybe a year and a half or so, I realized that maybe that wasn't the fit for me. And that's when I kind of transitioned into conference planning. And then working with nonprofits. And each of these areas of the industry has some unique aspects to it. And it's really just kind of a matter of finding what you like and what aligns with your personal passions and things, and, the types of clientele, and do you want to be more creative versus more logistical, that sort of thing. So I truly have a love for hospitality, serving other people, hosting people, and creating positive experiences for others. And I know that our students, I have that in common with them. I went through the process they did of developing the skills and, learning about the different areas and elements within the industry. And so it's really amazing and wonderful to get to be a part of their experience with that as well.
Absolutely. And, transitioning a little bit maybe into what awesome event management truly has to offer. You said it for yourself in our summer series, Sharing the Spark, where you expressed your interest and excitement in, concurrent as well as future students coming to Iowa State University, maybe to reinforce to them that, event management is filled with hands-on learning and high impact opportunities in and out of the classroom, as you said. Maybe can you touch on what that means and why it's so important in Awesome?
Absolutely. I love that you're asking this question because I think it truly is a hallmark for us in our program and very important for event management students. But to me, these hands-on high impact opportunities that students have means giving students the opportunity to take risks where they can learn and gain perspective, and do that in a low risk environment and a safe environment. And so this can look a lot of different ways. This can look like traveling abroad. And, we have a lot of wonderful international experiences built right into our program. And, anything from a 10-day trip to the Bahamas with Mr. Kramer to going to Dubai to, there's so many. And that could look like a semester abroad as well. So there's really unique international, intercultural experiences that students can get. We've also got, kind of the more tangible experiences through internships, as we mentioned. And, to me, this means allowing students to step outside of their current perspective and really experience something new. And you're experiencing something by getting to try it. So the internships that offer students an actual role within the industry, where they're working with clients, they're working, with colleagues, and they're putting their classroom knowledge into practice, is amazing. And so that's built right into the program. There are a lot of other things that are featured and that are offered that students can take advantage of as they want to. And, I have to talk about the Event Management Club because they're just a really impressive organization. And honestly, I have nothing to do with the Event Management Club. I used to be an advisor way back when, and now Rena McLean serves as the advisor. And she and the student leaders in that organization have always been so impressive. They bring in industry professionals to the campus to meet with students. The organization coordinates volunteer opportunities, and it's a really wonderful thing to see and a great opportunity for students to be a part of, because I think that's an organization that brings industry right to campus, and students get to network and learn about, oh, that's what it's like to be a nonprofit professional or to work in a corporate setting, that sort of thing. We've also got the Sophomore Mentor Program, like I talked about, and this is where students who are in their second year have the opportunity to be paired with a professional mentor in the industry, and they spend the semester with them, meeting with them, doing site visits, volunteering, observing, things like that. And a lot of the students that have taken that class have said everybody should take this class, because it's kind of a nice stepping stone between coming into the program and seeing, okay, this is what all there is you can do in the industry, and then finding out where your internship is going to be and figuring out what that is. If, this is just a nice second step. So again, that's a high impact experience that students can take if they want it. The only, requirement has ever been that you have a 2.0 GPA. So, and then we pair students with an area of their interest. But, there are a lot of others as well. And there are a lot of other opportunities throughout campus that are what I would consider these high impact students. It's really just up to the students to say yes. When work needs to be a priority, which it is for a lot of our students, they are sometimes working 2 jobs, sometimes working 30, 40 hours a week. For some of our students, their family needs to be a priority, their health needs to be a priority. And I support all of that. And I think that, students are people first. But what I love is that we're here to help them through all of that. And you can still take advantage of some of these really unique, high impact experiences with a really low commitment and low cost as well. So it's just kind of up to the student to say, okay, what do I really want to get out of this next, year or this next 3 years that I have?
Absolutely. And like you said, there's so many options for students just to get involved in, and they just need to look around and just step into something that not even has to pique their interest, but maybe just something that, stands out to them. Maybe they're unsure and they just want to try something out. It's right there in front of them. And it's a great opportunity. As you said, there's, the peer mentor program, and there's a number of organizations that I have listed. I have alumni association, and the athletics department, and dance marathon, and the Greek system, and dining and catering. There's just so many opportunities for students just to get involved.
There are. And what I love is that these organizations, the Greek community, the Alumni Association, the athletics, like all these that you mentioned, the fashion show is right within our own department. They're so supportive. They're so, we consider them to be great friends of our department and our program, because the opportunities that they offer really lift up our students and provide those, those really amazing leadership opportunities and ways to gain those skills and experiences in a fun, safe, like I said, low risk environment that just adds to the students' academic, experience at Iowa State University. And they're getting to learn so much in that process. So like you said, it's all throughout the university, dance marathon, dining and catering. You mentioned so many of the good ones. I do want to mention, if you don't mind, bring up the conference really quickly, because that is also another opportunity that I have the pleasure to get to work with. And the conference is held, we've had 2 the past 2 falls. It's an annual event that takes place in right around October, November, and it's built into our Event 486 course, where students who take that course serve as conference managers, and they get to implement a conference event. And the conference itself is actually a 2-semester process where students first take Event 485. And in that 485 class with me, they go through the process of researching and working with stakeholders to figure out what kind of event is needed. And then they get to design it and kind of do the planning. Whereas in Event 486, as a conference manager, they get to implement the conference. And so it is a 2-step, 2-semester process where students have the opportunity to go through every phase of the beginning of planning through the final implementation, and then what happens even after the event with the evaluation and the wrap up and everything. They're getting to meet with stakeholders and work with the budget and, figure out lighting and AV and, doing RFPs and all of that exciting stuff. So that one I love to talk about, because again, that's something that I get to be a part of every fall, but it is a really neat experience for students to actually, get that hands-on. And that's something that adds to their portfolio. It adds to their perspective. They also, they get to do something that they haven't done. Maybe in their internship, they had a lot of experience working with like food and beverage, but they've never worked with stakeholders. So then in this conference, they can serve as a conference manager that works more with, working with vendors and booking vendors and things. And so it really gives students the opportunity to seek out what they're missing or what they haven't done, or maybe just something they want to try that they've never had the opportunity. So I love that. That's a lot of fun.
Of course. And the conference specifically, what does the conference highlight? And a lot of the material in the 2 times that the conference has been hosted, a lot of it is awesome related, correct?
It is. And so I'm so glad you asked this question, Mark, because I love to talk about it so people can kind of see how it works. But what happens is in the Event 485 class, students that are in the class spend a couple weeks going out to determine because this is a conference for the Iowa State community, they spend time going out to find out what is it our Iowa State community, what are their needs, what are their wants, what are their challenges, what is it that could really enhance or benefit their Iowa State experience. And then they use those findings to help them design a conference proposal. So they get to come up with the objectives for the conference. They come up with what kind of a theme is going to be. Then we go through the process of teaching them about experience design, which is how can you plan an event that's going to be meaningful and memorable for all the attendees, and that's appealing to their senses, that's appealing to community, play, all different kinds of elements. And they have to find ways to bring that into their proposal, but it all ties back to what is it that they discovered that the students, that the community really needs. So they take all of that and then they determine what their theme is going to be. The first year they centered the theme on innovation. And it was all about innovation and helping students be creative and trying new things. And, that really aligned with President Winterstein's whole mission for Iowa State as well. So that was the first year. And then this past year, it was all about balance and how can you balance your physical health, your personal health, your financial wellness, like all of these aspects of wellness, how can you balance it? To be well. So that's what they discovered based on the research they did last year. Now, we're into the spring semester, and the students will be going through that process all over again by researching what the community's wants and needs and interests and passions are. And they do that through a variety of different methods. And then they'll spend the semester coming up with proposals. For what they want the conference to be this coming November 2021. So yeah, it changes all the time, just kind of based on what the community needs and what the community tells us that they want.
And it's just so important to also recognize that, we say it all the time, but when we take a look at all these student organizations, it's so interesting and important to recognize that they are all student run, and that although they collaborate with, vendors or other stakeholders and stuff like that, a majority of the responsibilities lie on the students, and it's all up to them to carry out what they envision, correct?
Absolutely. I tell them that my role is just to support them. And they might even turn to me and say, Jamie, what do you think about this? Or even if they're making a decision about a budget issue, I kind of guide them through things that they should maybe consider, but I don't make the decision for them. I really, even if they fail in some regard, which I tell them nothing is a failure because you're going to learn from it. Better to do that here than, in 2 years when you're, working professionally and, in a different setting. And so I just really see myself as a role to support them in the process and help make sure they have the tools to work through the decisions, the planning, the processes, and things like that. I'll give you an example. This past fall, as we were planning the conference Balance, we ran into some challenges with our vendors due to COVID. And that's not unrealistic because that's what was happening all over the world. And so we went through that process of having to figure out how to, create solutions and how to keep moving forward despite what was happening. And, we did a virtual event because that's what was needed for the community, in terms of safety and things like that amidst COVID. And the students had never put on a virtual event before. I had never done a completely virtual event before. So we went through that process together. And I have had students come back and say that it's because they did that now they can talk about that in their job interviews. And, that shows their employer that they have experience working with the production side of a virtual event. And that's what we're here for. Like, to me, there's that's amazing. And I absolutely love that they have that opportunity and that I get to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. And, for event, the conference and everything like that, it's important also to just emphasize the fact that it is truly the capstone experience of, our event management program. And I'm glad that there's been a lot of success and that, you have a lot of interesting and exciting things to talk about when referring to the conference. So we'll definitely keep on the lookout for, the spring plans for what your students are preparing. And then, in the coming fall, seeing it all come together, we're very excited to see how it all builds together.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I have amazing support from Dr. Sanders and, my other colleagues in the program. And so it truly is a group effort. I mean, Dr. Sanders serves as our stakeholder. So the students get to work, with her in that capacity. And they go through the preparation process of what would it look like to sit down with a professional stakeholder. And it's just, yeah, I mean, I want to say it's fun, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't describe it as fun because it is a class, it's an academic, but it is, it truly is. And the students really learn a lot in the process. It's not to say that it's all easy, because it's not. There are a lot of challenges, but gosh, to be able to sit back at the end of that semester when it's been done and the students can say, hey, we did this. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. So in addition to what's already been said and, spoken of highly about our program as well as our department, what do you think some of the other reasons are that, people are so attracted to Iowa State, let alone the event management industry?
Gosh, I would say the biggest thing is just our tremendous reputation for excellence here. I feel very strongly that our campus prioritizes, student-friendly, student-oriented experiences. And I see faculty and staff being really committed to student success in all forms, whether that's personally and professionally. And I feel that, I have been a part of the campus visit process where, students that come in as prospectives that are interested in, maybe attending Iowa State in the future. And, what the admissions office does, what the College of Human Sciences recruitment office does to really help students get a full view of what Iowa State has to offer. I think that that's really impressive. And I always believe that it's a matter of helping students see, does this look like a home for you? Because I believe any program, any university can look really great on paper. Their website can be really beautiful, can look really appealing and that sort of thing. But when students and families come to the university and come here, for me, it's about, does this feel like a home for you? Does this feel like a fit? Do you really see yourself here? Because then I believe that then everything builds from there, and it's an amazing place to be. There's so many wonderful things coming out of our university. And I think so much of that is the amazing students that we have. And, I think we as faculty and staff really gain a lot and gain, like I said, it is the most rewarding thing is the students and seeing them, develop and grow and learn and be successful. So it's a very mutually beneficial experience. But gosh, I think our curriculum is really fantastic. And our program specifically offers a lot of business insight and business perspective. And then we also just offer a lot of wonderful opportunities to explore those unique areas within the industry. And that is unique. So I think that's also something that makes the AESHM department really great, and our particular program really great. But just as a whole, the university, like I said, I feel like you can feel the fact that we care about students, and we want students to be successful and to be well.
For sure, and that's an amazing thing to see come together, especially during, the COVID-19 pandemic and some difficulties within the last year, how students can navigate through this and realize that they have all the support and tools that they need to succeed. So with that being said, where do you see the event management industry in the coming year, and what does the future of the industry look like?
Yeah. It's what's interesting is with the challenges that have come with, the pandemic, as you mentioned, and just things we've had to face because of that, our industry really has shifted. And we've been seeing that, and people know about that. But I would say some of the biggest things that jump out to me is just the fact that virtual and hybrid events are paramount. And that's how events are really majority of events are taking place right now. So for me, I'm trying to help students develop those skills, because I think that they're always going to be here to stay to some degree. And so there's a whole different skill set that aligns with virtual and hybrid events. We do offer a virtual event planning course that Dr. Sanders teaches that I think is tremendously timely for students to take so that they can learn more about that. And, I know all of us faculty are building in those elements into our courses as well. So I think that that's probably one of the bigger things. Another thing that I think is really important about what we're seeing this coming year, and this has kind of been a building trend, is that people are looking at events as experiences. So we in our industry of event professionals and developing event professionals, I see us to be that we're in the business of moment marketing and moment creations, because we're seeing that people would rather spend their money and their resources on experiences that create memories rather than spending their money on things. Mm-hmm. So that puts us in a wonderful opportunity to be a part of creating that. So it's not just doing an event for the sake of doing an event, it's doing an event that creates an experience for someone, which is why this whole, experience event is an experience design is something I've implemented into my 485 and 486 classes. Is how do we really give people an experience that's going to help change their behavior, that's going to be meaningful and memorable. And to me, it's all about adding value to people's lives. So what does that look like? How do we get to do that? Because I think that that's what events are, that's the future. So that's those are probably my big two things for what's coming for our industry this year.
Very well said. Thank you very much for your input.
Yeah.
And as we conclude here, what would your advice be to students, both local and broad, who are interested in any capacity in pursuing their undergraduate or even graduate education in event management with Awesome?
I'd say come and do it.
Yeah.
I'd say join us, because I feel like there's something here for everyone. Whether you have an interest in business, then corporate events or entertainment events, you want to be maybe more on the creative side of event management, then there's avenues for that with maybe, entertainment or private event planning, that sort of thing. And then there's the logistical interest with conference plan. I mean, there's so many things, and you get to try them. And so I'd say take this opportunity to join us and be willing to say yes, because our industry is not only so vast and so broad, but it also changes, and our program changes with it. Mm-hmm. We had this with COVID-19 hitting in March of 2020. By the fall 2020, we were offering a virtual event course. So we're really, I think, very relevant and very motivated, and we prioritize helping students get the experiences that we believe they need to be successful. And I think that our unique course offerings allow students to get a more personalized experience with what they want. A lot of people come into our industry thinking that so many people are wedding planners. Well, there are a lot of wedding planners, but that's actually like 5% of what's in our industry, and maybe even less. And so there's so many things you can do. So I would say join us and, ask questions. And, I always am telling students to set mini goals for yourself, little things can really add up to big things. And so it's just a matter of saying, you know what, I want to volunteer at 2 events this year. I want to see what it's like to be in corporate events, or I want to see what it's like to be in incentive events, that sort of thing. And just be willing to try new things and, talk to faculty and talk to the other students in the program and kind of engage in the community. Because gosh, if I know that a friend of mine in one of my classes had an internship with, an entertainment company in Nashville, I should go talk to them and find out about their experience and see if that's something I would be interested in, because we all have unique interests and things like that. So I think that being willing to try new things, connecting and, being engaged within our community. And then I also think reflection is really important. I always tell students, think about what makes you you. What makes you happy? What makes you want to do the things that you want to do? And how does that set yourself apart? Because it's common for people in our industry to say, well, I'm an organized person and I like to plan things. But there's so much more to it than that. So what's special about you? What can you bring to the table? And what does that look like in the industry? And if you don't know, well, that's what I'm here for. That's what other faculty are here for. So I just really, encourage students to think about what it is they're wanting out of their experience and, what they see themselves doing, what types of things make them happy and bring them joy. And then how can that play out, for the rest of their lives. And we can help them through that process. That's something, I'm honored to do.
Mm-hmm. So. Thank you for your input. That was, it's so amazing to, take a look at our program as a whole and just see that Awesome is truly a pioneer, in shifting with the industry in all 3 of our programs, both AMD, hospitality, and event management. And it's so cool to see how things break down and how we hear about student success, especially, as I said, some difficult, challenges ahead of us. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a really wonderful team to be a part of. And I think as a student, to be a part of this community where there are apparel merchandising design students and hospitality students, and we gain so much from each other. And it is a unique opportunity. And like I said, I feel honored to be a part of it as well. So yep, I think it is an amazing place to be. And the students are a tremendous part of that because gosh, they're impressive. They really do so many amazing things. It's really neat to see.
Thank you again, Jamie, for your outlook. And that's all I have. And just want to say thanks for coming onto the podcast and sharing with us a little bit about your experience and why Awesome and event management within Awesome is truly something special.
Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. It's been so much fun. So thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Awesome, the podcast. For more information, you can head over to awesehm.hs.iastate.edu. And you can also find Awesome on social media by just searching up AESHM. So thanks again for watching another episode of the podcast, and we will see you next week.